Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Elisa with Fusion DIY. I want to share with you a project that I worked on over the past couple of weeks. This round drum table I picked up at a yard sale for $8 and it was in great condition, although the paint job on the table was very chippy and peeling paint. So what I'm doing here is sanding down the entire top to get all of the paint off because I didn't want any of it chipping off into whatever I did as a refurbished top. And now I'm taking the nails out of the feet and taking the feet off, and you can see that I did do some sanding on the legs. And when I took off this one, I found that the leg was broken, the foot was broken. So I went ahead and repaired that, and you'll see that in just a moment. Once I got the feet off, then I went and I sanded as much as I could with the palm sander to get any residual paint off. And then what I did was, for the areas where I could not get with the palm sander, I took a piece of 80 grit sandpaper and just hand sanded all of the chips, the chipping paint off of it. I also had to repair some veneer that was lifting off the front of the table. And here's the repaired foot. Now I'm going over the table with a coat of Zinsser primer to prevent any bleed through from the wood. And I gave this table 2 coats of the Zinsser primer, and then I went over it with some Waverly chalk paint in the whitest white, but you're going to see later on in the video that it doesn't stay a white table. Then I gave the top 2 coats of primer as well, and then I gave it the same treatment with the Waverly chalk paint. I picked up this beautiful decoupage paper from Decoupage Central, and I ordered 4 sheets so that I had enough for the center of the table. What I'm doing now is I'm cutting the floral out from the rest of the paper because I only really was interested in the flowers. And there is one piece of the flower on this page that I cut out as well because I did not want to use it as it sat on the paper. And you'll see in a little bit just how I go about using those extra flowers. Now, one of the things to remember is that when you are cutting out your decoupage paper, and you can see I'm going around the flower now, you need to save all those bits and pieces until you're finished with your project, and even after that, because you'll never know when you're going to need a piece of decoupage paper to fix something or just use it in a different project. So now at this point I had 3 pages cut out, and then I went on to cut out a 4th one. So here I have 3 of the 4 pages cut out, and I'm just trying to get an idea if 3 was going to be enough, and it turned out that it was not, and I needed to cut a 4th one. And so what you will see is I'm going to be now playing around with the layout and trying to figure out where I want things to be placed. And you can see I had my ceiling fan on, so it was a little bit challenging just to keep things in place, but it was a necessary thing to have the ceiling fan on, because I don't know about you guys, but where it is by me, it's so stinking hot and humid that it's really uncomfortable. So anyway, moving on. So after I had a basic idea of what I wanted to do, then I went and I wet the edges of the paper and I started to tear off the very edge, so that once I put my decoupage paper down, you will not be able to see the lines because you'll feather in the edges on your table. And so here's what it looks like when you're finished with the edges. And I did that with all 4 pages. Once I had all of the edges torn off on all 4 of the pages, I then did another dry fit of how I wanted them on the table. So when I left this project, I just stopped and had some lunch, and I had some time to think about how I wanted to lay out the floral on this table. It was kind of bothering me because I thought, if somebody wants to put a lamp in the center of the table, it's going to hide the floral. It's going to hide the artwork. So what I did was I went back and I kind of rearranged the flowers to really pretty much, follow the edge of the table. And that gives us about 3/4 of the way around the table. And I'm really liking this layout. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to decoupage down the pieces, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to start to blend the paint so that you cannot see these lines. So there's going to be some blending here of colors because this is not all just a stark white, but we're going to fix that so you can't really tell that there's any edges here at all. But I think for right now I'm happy with this layout, and I'm going to now put my decoupage pieces down. Don't forget, we still have other pieces that we cut out from the paper that we did not use. We put those little flowers aside. We might be able to stick them in here and there just to kind of fill in where we need to. But for now, I'm good with this, and we're going to start to build this the way that you see it here. So I'm laying down a thin coat of the decoupage medium, and then I am going to take my piece of decoupage paper and I'm going to position it where I want it, and then I am going to start to tap it in place. Again, remember, I don't don't push too hard on this paper because I don't want it to tear. Although I will tell you that this rice paper is very, very durable, and it was a breeze to work with. In addition to being beautiful, it was also a very easy paper to work with. Okay, so I think that looks good. I'm going to leave it here for a few minutes. I'm going to let it dry, and then I am going to come back and I'm going to start to blend the paint. So I'm going to match these colors here on the edges, and then eventually it's going to fade to this white over here. So I am going to head down to my basement, find my paints that I need, and I'll be back. Okay, gang, do you remember these pieces that we cut out, these 4 little flowers? And I said, save your pieces because you never know when you're going to use them or going to need them. So I think what I'm going to do, just to take up some of this negative space here, is I am going to put these down in on parts of this table, and you can see where I'm going to put them as I work. Okay, so I really like how these look, and I'm going to let them dry, and now I'm going to work on blending some of the paints, mixing some of the paints to get the right colors to blend in with the edges. Okay gang, so here are my paint colors to choose from, and I am going to use a combination of a couple of these. My house right now looks like a wreck, so if you could see what I've got going on here. So we've got the paint over here, we've got the table over here. To the left of me I have my next project is this table, but I'm using it at the moment for blending station. So this is where I'm going to blend all of my colors, and you can see I'm using a very sophisticated palette, aka paper plates, but it works for me and it's very inexpensive. So let's get going. Okay, so what I've done is I've taken some ecru, some tan, and some white, and I am going to mix those together to come up with a color that I believe is going to be pretty close to this border, this edge here. Now the reason I'm pouncing is because I don't want to see any brush strokes, and at the same time I'm also trying to hide the lines of where the paper is. So this is going to take a little bit of time, but it is well worth the effort. So as I began to blend this paint into the table, or onto the table and into the transfer, or the decoupage paper, I was really blown away at just how it transformed this table. And you are really having a hard time now seeing the edges of the paper. It almost looks like it's painted onto the table. So this decoupage paper was absolutely beautiful, and it was a pleasure to work with and just look at. Listen, I don't have skills like some of these other people, and this is the first time that I've been blending paint. I've never done this before, so I really felt like this was something that just really took this table up to the next level. Now typically I would have cut a lot of this out, but I wanted you to see just how easy it was and how quick it was to go through and blend in the lines or blend in the decoupage paper with paint. I was definitely working at it for a while, but was it hard? Not at all. Not at all. It just took some time. So I'm showing you how to do this so that if you choose to do it in the future, you'll have at least a frame of reference as to how to do it. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm taking some of the white paint of the table and I'm going around the hard edge of the line, and I'm using a combination of some water on a brush plus the white, and I'm pulling that ecru color into the white, and it's just a series of blending and blending and blending. And like I said, this took a little bit of time. It was not hard, but it's time consuming. So you really have to allow yourself some time and be patient, because it's not something that happens quickly, but it is so well worth the effort and the time that it took. Wait till you see this table when it's done. Now you can see the line between the white and the ecru color is really beginning to fade, and that's what you're looking for. If you look at the top of the picture, you'll see the defined line of the ecru and the white, and as you get down more towards the center, you see that line is actually beginning to fade, and that's how you blend. Okay, gang, so this has taken me about an hour to get it to this point, and I think that I am liking what I see. I like the darker on the outside and more of the white over here, the lighter over here. I am happy with how it looks. So I am going to let this dry, and then we will come back and see what corrections, if any, we need to make to it. So once the table was dry, I went around this edge with some gold rub and buff, just to give it a little bit more of a sparkle. Here's the difference that rub and buff makes. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so off camera, what I ended up doing was I painted the rest of the table to match the top. So it's this peachy cream color on the legs, and I'll show you that in just a minute. But I wanted to show you the drawer. The drawer is in rough condition. It looks like somebody tried to pry it. You see all the scratches and the gouges in there. So I'm not going to sand it because it's already been repaired once, and I'm afraid that this thing is going to fall apart with a little bit of aggressive treatment to it. So I think that what I'm going to do, these are the pieces that came with the decoupage paper, and I am simply going to decoupage these pieces onto the drawer front, and that will cover the majority of that. So it's unfortunate, but it's a piece of used furniture, so there's really not a whole lot that you can do without a whole lot of ordeal. So we're going to go ahead and decoupage the front of this drawer. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the Mod Podge, and I'm going to start it right here in the center, because this is where my two pieces are going to meet. And I did that by design because there is a knob that goes here, and I'm hoping that the knob will hide the obvious marks of the paper. So I will put that one down first. And then I'm going to put this one down. I'm going to try to match up the edges as best as I can. And then when you tear the edges, you just don't even see it. So I'll come back and I'll sand all of this excess off. I think I want to move this up just a little bit. I think I want to move this one up a little bit. Quick, before it sticks. Okay. All right, now. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. Now, when you have the knob on, you won't even see that. Now I'm going to go back and finish decoupaging the edges, or the drawer front. Okay, so now using a piece of sandpaper, I am going to, in a downward motion, I'm going to scrape the edge of the drawer and scrape off the extra paper on the drawer front. And there it is. It's hard to tell that there was ever any damage to that drawer front I think it looks great. And now I'm putting the knob on. The knob also got a coat of Rub and Buff as well. It looks great, doesn't it? You can't even tell that it was matched. The paper was matched. And here's a look at the finished project. I really feel like this is the prettiest piece that I have done to date. It was definitely a challenge for me because I've never blended paint before, but oh my gosh, it turned out lovely. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and also leave a comment and let me know what you thought about this project. I appreciate you joining me today. I hope that you guys have an awesome week, and I'll see you next week.